Today's podcast is brought to you by Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance. Accidents happen. Without the right coverage from the right insurance company, damage to your automobile can be a real financial hit. That's why Kentuckians appreciate the competitive rates and personal service they get from Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance. When the unexpected happens, count on us to help you get back on the road. To request a free quote, find your local KFB insurance agent at mykfbagent.com. Kentucky Farm Bureau, big on commitment. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
It's good. We sometimes when we you and I just interview someone, we just do our opens, just me and you. But today, we're getting a little wild here, getting crazy.
This is 2 weeks in a row we're letting people in our opening.
Yeah, we're letting people in the open. We're getting wild, and so this guy's he's not new to an open of the podcast.
But we don't usually let him on the A-Team podcast.
Yeah, he's on he's the B team. We brought him in.
I'm a minor leaguer.
Tim's here.
Timmy!
Single A baseball here.
How's it going, Tim?
Good. And I feel so honored.
Okay, here's the topic today.
Thanks for making me feel so welcome.
Welcome. He just happened to be here, so we let him.
Well, here's really the reason we're doing this, because me and Tim have talked about this before. In whatever religion you are, whatever it is, we're open to everybody. It is a time of Lent. If you drive anywhere in the state with any form of a Catholic church somewhere, you know it because there's fish fries. If you live anywhere with a McDonald's, they have brought the filet of fish back. You don't have to do the fish thing on Fridays, but everybody's got a pretty good Lent thing. And so, Tim, talk to us about Lent, buddy. You got a pretty good one on this.
I'm a big McDonald's fish fan. Let me tell you what.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Filet-O-Fish.
Yeah, I tell you, on Fridays, I'm at the Mackie D's. Give me two.
Yeah,
It's a 2 for $5.
It's 2 for $5 right now.
Yeah. No fries, just the fish.
Yeah.
So what I would like to talk about. So everyone during Lent makes the funny joke about why is fish not a meat? Whatever, that's fine. What I want to talk about is, what is something other people probably wish you would give up for 40 days? A little self-reflection here. What is something
self-owning
other
here,
people wish? Because I don't think anyone looked at me right before this thing started and was like, man, I really wish Renee would eat less fries.
Yeah.
I don't think that was what they thought.
They'd be like, I wish you were really doing that.
I wish you could turn the volume down. I wish you would remember we're in a closed vehicle and I'm not 40 yards away. So, what is it, guys? What is it that you think people around you were like, man, be nice if we got a break from this habit for 40 days from Tim?
Well, I don't know. It's supposed to be a time of sacrifice. And so for me, I'm trying to be a little more diligent in what I do at church. For instance, we have a day coming up where we're going to go paint and we're going to go do some things. Not that you're giving anything up, but that's certainly part of our service to the church. I should tell this story.
Oh, come on.
We put a little box up at the front of our church that, if you've given up something like sugar or soft drinks or if you fast for a day, maybe money that you've saved, if you'd like to donate that, you put it there. Mine ended up last year being a swear jar. And I'm sorry. Nothing really bad, nothing horrible. But I came into church one day, and I told one of the ladies in our choir, I said, if it hadn't been for that truck on the interstate, I'd have been doing pretty good.
So you have funded the church the last couple of months,
yes,
pretty much from your mouth.
I have.
So if any of you are feeling like you need to do a good donation to a local church, all you got to do is kind of jump in front of Tim when you're driving by him and know that you too have helped a local church.
Hey, this year I am much better.
Good. See, we're all just trying to I think Renee and I might have the same one. I think generally everyone would be okay if I didn't talk so much. Okay, so I'm a lot. Okay, and I'm sincere when we need to be, but I'm 95% of the time joking. So I like to remind people I'm just kidding. Like I like pick on people. Tim gets it a lot.
No.
Yeah, at home too, and just like I just need to stop talking so much, which is great for a pot. Like this is great for these moments in this room right here. Like you're supposed to talk.
This is where we excel.
Talk. Everywhere else, I think everyone would be totally okay if I just kept my comment to myself. And I think I've got a feeling that might be yours as well.
Yeah. I wish we had prepped harder because if we would have had Austin, the tech man that never wants to talk on the podcast. We could have had him ready to be like, Austin, as an employee managed by Matt Hilton, what do you wish he would have given up for 40 days?
Let's see. Is he shaking his head at me? Is he shaking me not talking so much? Yes, he is shaking his head for the listeners at home. So, yeah, I think my wife would agree. I think my kids would agree. I know my coworkers would agree. Just maybe tone it back a touch.
So I really think mine. I'm being very self-reflective. It's the volume. I'm not saying nobody. There's some people that get tired of the amount I talk. If I could just crank it down 5 notches, I'm telling you, there's a lot of people around me that, like, when I see people jump, I'm like, I guess I'm being loud right now. And then I think I've cranked it down. I haven't. I'm now at outside voice. Like I was screaming and now I'm talking in an outside voice. It's a volume thing for me. And my husband's going to listen to this and he's going to say, no, dear, if you want to go a day of silence, that would also be fine. I'm sure he will contradict this quickly. But do you know there's a place in Bardstown you can go and do a weekend of silence? Like reflective silence.
Nice.
Like be one with the Lord.
You need to send him there just so he can reset.
I think he wants to send me there and see if I can make it out.
Yeah, there's no chance. Like,
monks would kick me out quickly. They'd be like, you got to stop,
like,
girl.
I can see the monks scattering,
Not her again.
Yeah, like the silent treatment, that is not how I never do the silent treatment. to anyone. The problem is I maybe do the opposite. I talk more to them when
someone silent treatments me, it infuriates me. Like, I'm going to pester you enough to where you start yelling back. No.
And they say, is something wrong?
Oh, yeah.
You're not talking?
Yeah. No, I think that would probably be every year. When I look at like my New Year's resolution, I joke with the guys that my your New Year's resolution is always stop being a horrible person. And I'm not a horrible person, but
so Lent every year you can say, "Oh, got to restart that resolution." See,
it's a good. I want to start I'm going to stop being such a terrible person.
Man.
But yeah, it's the talking. I think it's the talking that everybody would be pretty good if that just toned back.
So I got to lessen my volume. You got to talk less. Tim's going to cuss less.
It's not that I'm a huge cusser
Freaking
now.
sailor over here.
Everybody out there now.
Wish you guys could meet this guy.
On the old down the back roads crew, we're going to go, I didn't know that about Tim.
You think he's so wholesome. And then you just get that one traffic
occasionally, hey, we're all guilty of that.
Yes,
occasionally we slip up.
And it's occasionally. We're around Tim a lot. This is not
and for me, it's about, it's more about being mindful. Maybe I don't say it, but I think it. Somebody will cut me off in traffic and I'll think like that. But, better thoughts, better words, better service.
Do you know who probably doesn't need to do better for 40 days?
Because they're outstanding and they win awards.
Rockstar
People.
Farm Woman of the Year.
Farm Woman of the Year.
Yes.
So you did an article.
I was there. I visited the farm.
Yes.
Cover lady. She's a cover girl now.
Cover lady of the magazine. And Kristan Wright. I think all three of us have known her for quite a while, and it's cool to win a state award like this. She is all things, and you'll learn that in the podcast. All things.
Literally, if you've thought of it on a farm, they've
probably
done it.
Figured out some kind of way to do it. And just an interesting lady that's, a perfect person to win this award. I don't, what could she give up?
I don't know.
She has a zebra.
See, they do. We talk about that. She has a zebra.
And little donkeys.
Yeah, little donkeys, all kinds of stuff. So, I think the viewers, listeners will love this. I always call them viewers as a video guy. The listeners are gonna love this, and Kristan's here today.
All right, let's get to it. I'm Renee Carrico.
I'm Matt Hilton.
I'm Tim Thornberry.
Let's get rural. This is where we ended up at. We said yesterday we were at lunch, and I said, somebody said something about how tough it would be to date at our age or whatever. And I said, I can't. I tell Peyton all the time, no one's going to put up with me. Like, you're going to have to, like, shove me away because I am holding on for dear life. So.
Yeah, my wife and I look at each other and we're like, we have way too much money tied together. We got, the kid thing, it's just, this is it. Sorry.
He's such a ruckus.
Like, just to end
I
it
like
now.
that you've already had that conversation.
Yeah, it's just sorry, dear.
Tell me both agree this would be a lot of hassle.
This would be a way bigger hassle. We just might as well stick with this. Yeah, so,
That's true.
So is this drive easier or worse than going to Frankfurt?
Worse.
I assumed. I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, Frankfurt, I go through Baghdad and go up 60.
Oh, so
Okay.
you don't even touch 64.
I don't have to. I mean, I can.
I wouldn't.
So I don't. And that's, one of the challenges of why I was like, I got to make a decision on leaving Seneca is because we switched from 7:30 to 8:30 start time. And then JCBS went to all the different start times instead of 2. And now, like this morning when I was going to leave, it said, I'll be here like 10 minutes before I needed to. Then you get on 71.
you never know.
And then you never know. Something happens. One day, my last year teaching, I was late to work 3 hours because I got stuck on 71.
Oh,
and I had
my
never been
gosh.
late before. But it just impacted so much where they change, all the different start times. Like there was a bus when I was coming in here picking kids up at 9. So it, and it used to be I could stay after school until 4. Wouldn't be a problem. I could get home by 5. And then with the start time change and all the traffic pattern, I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but it's not the same as what it was. I could leave at 3:30 when we changed to our new time, right after the bell rings and still not get home sometimes till 6 just because of traffic.
That's miserable.
And it wasn't every day, but it was definitely, that was the same year that Bethany moved to Henry County. And she's like, I don't remember you telling me that it was this much trouble to get back home every day. And I was like, it wasn't.
She thought she'd been sold a bad set of goods here.
Yeah. I was like, it was not that bad, I promise. It used to be you could just, 45 minutes, you were right there. But it's just, anymore when you come to Louisville, you've got to check and plan extra time, I
And
feel
then
like.
when you plan, you still end up late. I
Yeah.
did that yesterday going to Lexington, actually.
Yeah.
It's something about the Bluegrass 64, 71. As soon as you think you know the traffic construction pattern, they say, no.
Yeah.
We're going to do today, we're going to move all the cones to the other side right when you're coming through. And you're like, awesome.
Okay, yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I live in Mount Washington, so I come up Bardstown Road and then just turn a Hurstburn Lane instead of hitting Gene Snyder. And it's proven to be better idea on a daily basis. But if I leave 5 minutes late, it's amazing how different it might get.
Oh, yeah.
In just 5 minutes, it's like everyone decided to go at the same time. So yeah, if I hit it on the nose, it's pretty easy. But man, you just have these days you're just sitting there on that, and you're like, I don't know where else to go. Like I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
my
once you
favorite
get
one,
stuck, sometimes you can't
You're
go
like, I'm
anywhere.
right here, so.
If you can't get off the interstate. That's the thing. The day I got stuck 3 hours, I was in LaGrange, there's a new exit, and I was right there in front of that exit. And I was like, why can't they just open that up? It was before they'd open it. Finally, they did after 3 hours of really being there. I guess they finally decided
that's
we're
probably
going to
a good
let
idea.
these people off. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
frustrating.
That's how I knew I was a Louisville person. I was starting to understand it all is when I understood that 5 minute change
Is there
would change your whole
like
life.
traffic 90% of the day is fine.
Yeah.
But there's those like 2 or 3 times a day that are just like it's not good.
Also,
And
when
you
the
miss
person,
that window, you're in trouble.
when you watch the person behind you cut off to the side and you're like, oh, you must be a newbie. I've done that before. And that's a dead end by a railroad track. And it's about 7. You're going to get caught. Like, I'm like, man, am I a regular? So, Okay, so we have
We appreciate you
alluded to
doing
it.
all of that and
Yeah,
coming into to
Oh,
Louisville
you're
today.
welcome.
So why don't we help the listeners? Who are you and where did you drive in from?
So I'm Kristan Wright, and I drove in from Henry County. My address is technically Eminence, but I live a little bit closer to Newcastle. So that's why 71 is just a little bit closer than going 64.
So talk to us
yep.
about kind of your farming operation. I think we'll start with farming, and then because I think when we get to your off-farm careers, we're gonna take a real dive because you've got some really cool stories there. But talk to us because you have a really unique farming operation too. So talk to us about what you and Daniel do at your farm right there.
Yeah, so we bought a larger farm right after COVID. So 2021 and really expanded from there. So we live on 105 acres and we literally have a little bit of everything. We have a freezer pork operation that we farrow to finish. And then last year we started raising hogs commercially for 9 Men Ranch, and that pork ends up in Whole Foods. So we have about, it depends on when you come visit, but about 1,100 hogs, any given time. And then we also have around 80 mama cows. I've also got some miniature cows as well. Those are kind of my pets. And then we also have, or I should say I also have, because he doesn't claim the sheep, but baby doll South Downs. And I've got 60 ewes. So I'm in the middle of lambing right now. I actually had triplets this morning. So
Oh, wow.
super exciting. So hopefully finish that up. Hopefully by the end of April, I would like to, but I wish I could get them to lamb, more consistently in 1 month. That would be awesome, but that doesn't always work out that way. And then I've got some miniature donkeys. We've got a zebra, and then some alpacas as well. Of course, chickens and ducks and that kind of thing. So we have a little bit of everything going on at the farm. So lots of animals.
I tell you, Daniel's been talking about a giraffe the last couple of times I talked to him.
He would love a giraffe.
He wants a giraffe,
but
which I don't know
they're
about.
very expensive.
I would say so.
And you have to have the facility. They have to have heated floors and all of this. So I'm going to say no to the giraffe.
If he
If anybody figures it out, it's
if
Daniel.
if he wins the lottery or something, he can go
can
ahead
go
and
get
buy
it.
it then, but
if
not
he
right
would-
now.
If he would embrace the baby doll South Downs,
Yes.
then he could probably, just ask for a few of those. He could afford the giraffe. Those things are some high dollar. They're just unique.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I wasn't even trying to, but this last weekend, I sold 3 of the spotted babies. I've got one going to Washington State, and she wants to buy a couple more depending on, what I have when I'm finished. So he kind of had to eat crow on that because when we first started getting into them, I wanted a spotted ram, and he was like, it was $2,500. And he was like, no, that's too much money. But I was like, well, if you buy a bull, you're going to pay about that much for a really good bull. So we bought the ram, went and picked him up. First year that we had him breed, we had a spotted ewe that was born. And within, 5 minutes of me posting on our Facebook page, and his phone number's tied to it, he had like 30 calls on the ewe.
If that is not the smartest way to get the man on board,
Yes.
put his number on there. That was genius.
Yeah, so we sold it for $3,500, so we made our money back, and he had some extra money. So where we used to live, and if this year keeps going the way it will, like we can literally make the farm payment just off of the sheep, which is
That's incredible.
Excellent. Yeah.
it's fantastic. Now they're more maintenance than like a Katahdin because you got to have them in individual pens and heat lamps and watch them and all that stuff. But they're really calm breed. That's what I love about them. You can do anything with them. You can open up a gate and they'll just follow you wherever you want to take them. So, and they're kind of miniature, so that makes it easier too.
Yeah.
I love it.
But yeah, the giraffe, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
The
he
last,
really wants a giraffe.
3 times I've talked to him, he's like, giraffe. I'm like, hey, I'm for it. I'll come out here.
He even knows somebody that can transport one. He's like, well, I know. I was like, you don't have anything to have a giraffe. like literally. And that's a little intimidating. You know, its legs are as tall as I am. So it gets mad,
That's an animal right there.
Yes.
I'm not scared of a horse. I'd be scared of a giraffe.
I'd be scared of a
And it's
giraffe.
not because I think it's aggressive. I'm like you, it's a height thing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
And have you
animals.
ever seen them fight?
Oh, yeah.
Like they're neck smacking each other. I'm like, they give one swing at me, I'm gone.
You're gone. Yeah.
It's like a home run for the giraffe. Oh, man, that's awesome. Okay, and so we talked about a lot of what's right at the house. You guys do some straw and some crop work as well?
So we still raise tobacco. We have corn, soybeans, wheat as well. And we do a lot of hay, of course, to keep everything fed. And then we also sell quite a bit of square bales and row bales as well. So, and we lease quite a bit around us. Eventually, we'd like to, expand and buy some more land of our own. But yeah, we have just a little bit of everything going on. And then Daniel also builds grain bins and sells grain bins for Conrad American as well. And then he's gotten into, because he needs more to do, Advantage feeders. So he's been doing that. So
you guys are really bored.
yeah, we are
Nothing to do.
really, really bored.
Talk about the diversity of Kentucky agriculture. Just go over there.
Go
to
visit
the
Wright
Farm
Farms.
and
Yeah.
figure it out. This is what it looks like. Yeah. So yeah, we've been out there quite a bit for different contests, and we're going to talk about one today. But it's an adventure every time I come out to your all's place. I've been to the old house and the new place, and so yeah, it's been quite a thing. But your story is very interesting. You're not just a farmer. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you have all kinds of unique paths that you've gone through the years, and we'd love to kind of hear about some of those. The first time I met you, I think we met through the Seneca FFA, a unique FFA chapter that you had a big part in. So talk about that, like for folks that don't quite understand Seneca High School to start with, and talk about what was that program when you first got there, and kind of explain the high school and kind of where it's located.
Yeah. So when I graduated from UK, it was very disappointing because there were only 3 ag teacher positions open that first year. So, of course, you graduate from the program, you're on fire, you're ready to go out into the classroom. So I didn't get a position that year. There were 13 of us that graduated from UK alone, and we have 5 universities in the state that offer the program. So I actually worked at JBS Swift here downtown for a year. And I grew up on a hog farm, so I was used to that, but it's very different from the processing side. But I think that really prepared me coming from a rural community in Henry County to go to Seneca, because at Swift, it was full of people of diverse backgrounds. And then I was in charge of people who could not speak English as a manager. So that really prepared me for, my experiences that I would have at Seneca. And then also that was a great connection for some of the resources that I would need later on. So in 2011, the job opened up at Seneca. I think it was posted like the week before school started. So I worked there, tried to work both jobs because I worked on the second shift for a week, and I was like, I got to go ahead and say goodbye. Sure. That was too much.
Right.
But when I did the interview, one of the things that they were trying to do is JCPS was going through themes, and agriculture did not fit the theme of Seneca. They were going to move the program to more high schools, what the plan was. But I was fortunate to have a wonderful principal, Michelle Dillard, who really wanted the program to grow. She was new to the school and kind of brought in to bring the school back to life. And she was extremely supportive that whole first year, let me, do anything I wanted to, gave me money to start the greenhouse because basically in the interview, they told me, you're going to be here this year and then we're going to move the program and we're going to get rid of it, because they had about 5 kids that were really invested in it that wanted to keep the program. So kind of basically started with scratch because the kids, they hadn't done a lot in the previous year. So just getting them out and doing some different activities and doing contests and going to different things in the community. And that first year we saw a lot of growth, to the point that spring, Miss Dillard was like, I think we need to hire a part-time ag teacher. So I was like, okay, that sounds great. So That following year, she posted the position, and the ag position was for part-time, so the person would just be teaching for half of the day. And we hired Bethany Mattingly to come on board. So from there, we just kept growing. The next year, I guess it would have been my third year, she was full-time, and then able to get a classroom because the first year she was on a cart. And then, we just worked together on trying to build that program back up and get it to where it needed to be. And growing up in a rural community, I thought only students who are involved in farming should be in FFA. And then Seneca really opened my eyes to how important that is, because we need everybody, like anybody and everybody. Sorry.
No, I think I do. I love that you're going here, because that was going to be my first question, is talk about the demographics, the home lives, talk through that for us, because if people have never seen anything with Seneca, I think the way you're talking about a supportive principal and a supportive program, I don't think they see the background these kids have in their brain. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And there were kids, so our kids from every background, there are over 40 different languages spoken at Seneca. And students who, have no agriculture background, maybe have never even had a pet at home, would come into the program. And part of the program, it's a magnet program, so we had to recruit really hard. We didn't have a feeder school that we can just pull kids that come straight to us into the program. But we would literally get kids from every background who could speak, all different types of languages. And it really opens your eyes to the value, how we need to encourage agriculture in every aspect, and not just the rural areas, but also, to me, I think that's the most important areas in an urban area, because these students now are going to go tell their parents, who are extremely disconnected from the farm, this is why X, Y, Z, because a lot of times what they see is on social media or on the news, and they don't really understand some of the practices that we have in farming. So that's extremely important. And, I've had students in our program from, Taiwan, Africa, you name it, any country, I feel like. And it's extremely important for them to see that. One of the challenges that we have sometimes, if they come from a country where agriculture is thought of in a, I don't want to say negative aspect, but kind of a lower class thing, that can kind of be a barrier for the students as well, to get their parents to understand, no, I can be a veterinarian. I can work at the Louisville Zoo. I can do all of these things. I'm not just going to be a field worker, if that makes sense. So that is sometimes kind of a barrier that we have. Another issue for the students that we had was just the financial burden. And that's why Seneca, we moved to affiliation, which means all of their dues were paid for. So that was a huge game changer for us, because students didn't have to pay, $20 to be a member, or $15 to be a member. With affiliation, we took everybody, and everybody had an opportunity to go to, the farm machinery show or whatever events, the rodeo that we're going to, participate in the contest. So that eliminates the barrier. And probably one of the most stressful and most rewarding things that I did in my career is my last year took kids to Ireland, and we did an agriculture tour in Ireland. I knew it was going to be a challenge, though, because you're asking kids to pay about, almost $4,000. So we spent 2 years fundraising in order to get some of that burden lifted off of the students so they could go. And we had students and parents go that had never flown before. Some people had never been out of the state. And then we're able to go to a whole nother country. And the focus of it was agriculture the whole time we were there. It was fantastic. But that was just really eye-opening to give them the experience, and then to hear from the students how that changed their life, those 9 days out of the country, how that was able to impact them. So it was always something interesting, at Seneca, but it was a lot of fun because my focus was on animal science. So I got to do all the fun stuff with the animals, and that's how I ended up with some of the, I have the zebra. At one point I had a camel, and it was really for the educational stuff because we did a lot of community events over probably somewhere between 10 and 15, depending on the year out in the community. We would do petting zoos. We would host a big event at Seneca and have about 700 students come over for it. So that was extremely rewarding to take a student who was petrified to get up and talk to anybody. And then now here they are teaching kids about, whatever animal that they're working with or whatever station that they're doing. Because as a teacher, you get to see that when they come in as a freshman. You're like, man, this kid has a lot of potential. But a high school kid thinks, no, I'm just going to sit back here and be quiet, and I'm not going to have, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to get in front of the room. And then you get them, doing their first contest or doing their first event like that, and then they're hooked on it. And then by the time they're a senior, they're just unstoppable.
Yeah. So that first event, I believe, was a Kiss a Pig event or something like that. So it was like I'm thinking a fundraiser for you all, and people could donate to see which teacher had to kiss the pig or kiss the chicken or kiss the
and we started out as Kiss the Pig, and then we expanded it. We turned it into a whole pep rally for FFA week. So each year we'd mix up the animals, and they would let us bring animals in on the gym floor, which that can be a little tricky in some schools, but they allowed us to do that. And we didn't bring anything in too large, but I brought in an alpaca before, and that one year he spit at the AP that was kissing him, so that was quite funny. And it's interesting too to see, because it would be all of our admin, to see who was afraid of what.
Yeah. We came to that. I think that literally was the first time I was exposed to the Seneca FFA, and it was just it was the student body was there too. So this isn't just the FFA kids. They were maybe at least somewhat used to it. These kids had never like just thought it was the greatest thing ever that the principal was about to kiss a pig or a chicken or and they'd raise all this money, and it was fun. I thought it was like, this is a creative way to expose that kind of a school, an urban school that a lot of these kids have never seen that. And it's a fun, funny way of getting them all into it, and
very entertaining.
Yeah. So, a neat FFA chapter that definitely led to other things for you as well. So to talk about, what that led to, you've got to do some other neat things.
Yeah. So I'm currently in my second year as the state FFA advisor, and I'm an agriculture consultant for the Kentucky Department of Education. So in that row, I get to work a lot with teachers, professional development for them. Also get to work with the state officers and planning our state convention and some of the other events throughout the year. Actually, I just took our group of Kentucky Master Ag teachers to North Carolina for an out-of-state trip, and we did some agriculture tours along the way, so that was a lot of fun. But very different, than what I did in the classroom, but it's allowed me to be able to share some of my experiences. This past summer, I did the Animal Science Institute, and we had ag teachers attend that. And we were fortunate enough to host that at Henry County High School. And then I got to bring teachers out to the farm and show them some different things. Like we did a castration, we did, some hoof trimming, and show them some hands-on stuff if they're not exposed to certain types of animals, what that looks like. So very different than being in the classroom, but I get to have a lot of different experiences and get to impact teachers who then get to impact, their students in the classroom. So, and then, just share advice about experiences that I had at Seneca. How do you build a program? How do you do X, Y, Z?
Yeah, I think one of the neat things to me with you in this new role is someone that's not from Central Kentucky originally. Seneca to me, I would see the picture of the kids and I was like, oh, it's some inner city kids. I didn't realize the amount of cultures, the amount of languages, so the cultural aspect, although maybe a kid from a country in Africa is going to be a different cultural change than a teacher teaching kids that are from Eastern Kentucky or far West Kentucky, there are cultural impacts that I think we probably don't realize we have in our own state. So if you're an ag teacher from West Kentucky and you end up in East Kentucky and you don't kind of come in with an open mind knowing that you're going to have to change or help kids reset expectations of what certain things mean, it's you're probably you're doing a little bit of a disservice on accident because you don't realize it. So I think it's really neat your perspective where you were really like kind of hit between the eyes, like you either fix it or you don't with these kids because they know no difference. Bringing those skill sets to people in Kentucky, I think in my opinion, it translates to Kentucky teachers probably more than the average person would realize. I think it does. And there's more people in rural areas that have kids that have never seen farms than they want to admit sometimes. And so the idea of urban ag, you don't have to be in the middle of Jefferson County or Fayette County or Warren County, sometimes you just got to remember some of these kids that grew up in Country Club Hills right down the road still have never seen it except from the road, and they don't know what it is. So I really appreciate your perspective. I appreciate you taking the leap because you were obviously had an incredible support system at Seneca. I can't even imagine a principal like that in some of our counties that are so farm-based. And so having someone that's so advocating for you and parent-based like you were starting to kind of really build, to take this leap to do the bigger picture, although I cannot imagine making that decision, I think was very big of you to try to see how you could impact more than this one area. I mean, it had to be tough to decide.
Yeah, and change is hard, I think, really for me anyway. You know, I've been there 13 years, so to take a program from basically the ground up and get it to where it was, that's really hard to just kind of let go and, you know, turn it over to somebody else because you've invested so much time, so much energy into getting everything that's there. But, you know, I noticed like when we first started going to FFA camp and I took kids from Seneca, really my kids were the only kids that were diverse, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And then now it's a totally different ballgame, and it makes my heart really happy to see that. You know, when we go to events, there is so much diversity because even like, you know, where I live in Henry County, it's very rural. We do not have a Kroger, Walmart. You know, if that tells you how rural it is, we have kids that have never interacted with animals. And it's scary, you know, if you think about, because these folks are going to be our consumers someday. So they need to understand where their food comes from, you know, why do we have the practices that we have and the value of farmland and why we don't want to just subdivide everything that we have out there. And I think more ag teachers are seeing that across the state. If you come to convention, you will see a huge amount of diversity versus if you were to come back in, you know, 2012. It's just completely different. We've seen more of that grow, and I know everybody's seen that in their own local community too, that we have more people moving out of the city and our population is growing. So we do have more diversity that's out there, and teachers have to be aware of, you know, how to interact with those students and what that looks like. Because sometimes it's a cultural thing. Like one of the first lessons I learned at Seneca, that first year I took students out to an event and they were having pork burgers. And one of my students was from Bosnia. She couldn't eat pork. So luckily we weren't too far from Chick-fil-A. I was like, I'll go run and get you lunch. But that's just something, you know, you don't think about unless you are exposed to some of the different cultures that our students have. So, you know, as an ag teacher, you've got to be aware because we're always taking kids on trips and going different places. And how do you accommodate all of your students' needs, I think is really important to consider.
Yeah, and I think it helps that you sound like a Kentuckian, you look like a Kentuckian, you're from a Kentucky town. So when you're talking to these teachers, they're not just like, oh, somebody from the big city somewhere coming in to tell us how to handle people from other places like we're dummies. I think they can look at you and be like, oh, no, she was us. Like she was just as ignorant of this situation as we were. So thank God she's here. You know, I think it brings that compatibility, I guess, when you're teaching. It has to feel good for them to feel like you're just like them. And here's how I'm going to help you avoid this pitfall so you don't have to make the Chick-fil-A run, you know, which has got to be cool. I do want to give you this before we jump into the award because I think this is a cool part, and I've asked Bethany this before too. Some of your students have done some really cool things, whether that's jobs while they're in high school, whether that's internships while they're in college, or whether some of them are in ag careers. Talk about maybe what people would maybe not expect, you know, because people are going to expect these kids, okay, well, they learned where their food comes from and they did a backyard garden and they taught their family and then they went on and did whatever. Talk about some of these kids that really did get hooked into it and some of the ag opportunities they had.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of kids that are doing things right now. And that was kind of my personal campaign, like the last 3 or 4 years, was even to showcase some of the students that we had into careers. And I got a foundation grant, and we had banners made, you know, the pop-up banners that we could take out at recruitment events to show parents, number one, you know, my child that looks like this could be this person. And also, here's what they're doing, you know, today, because I think that's extremely important. The kids need to see themselves in that career. So, I mean, we have students right now working at the Louisville Zoo, you know, that are doing zookeeping, that are, you know, I think we probably have, there's at least 3 that I know of that work there currently. We've got a student that's in extension. I've got 2 students right now that are going to vet school, which is super exciting because that's pretty tough, to get a student, especially in an urban area, because they're kind of at a disadvantage. I mean, it's hard for them to get their service hours and everything that they need, and they don't have the exposure, to livestock or even small animals sometimes that a kid in a more rural area would have. We've had students work at the Louisville Slugger Field, up at Cincinnati at the Reds. We had a student intern there over the summer. We have students who've worked in lots of different things. We have several. I think there's 3 that work at IDX, which is a parasitology lab that's here in Louisville as well. So I don't know the official number, how many we have in different places, but we've got students who are working in a lot of different agriculture areas. And they'll tell you, like, the only reason is because I was part of the ag program. Because when they first come in, they think veterinarian, maybe florist, zookeeper, just because the Louisville Zoo, they're exposed to it. But really, that's it. I mean, they're not thinking of the other things that are out there. They might think, well, I could be a greenhouse manager. And we've had students work at the Louisville Botanical Gardens, So, I mean, there's just lots of different things that are out there. So getting them to see that. And that was really, like, my first year at Seneca, it was rough as far as people think this is just farming. Like, if I'm in this program, you're going to be a farmer, and that's it. And who wants to be a farmer, and do the work? So getting them to see that there's all these different things out there. And yes, you can do it, even if you're not from a farming background, or even if you just, have very little exposure to things. You get in the program at Seneca, and you're going to get a huge exposure to different things. So I think that's definitely something we'll see. It'll be interesting, in 5 years to see where some of our students are that are in college right now, because we have multiple that are in different ag programs in the state or working on their masters. So,
and do you see that? Do you see that in FFA as well? That you're seeing, you're talking about that diversity of student diversity period that's in the organization now. Is that kind of the idea, is to just expose kids that didn't know that, agriculture or agriculture adjacent kind of jobs, there's a huge diversity there of opportunity. And, that you think that's kind of, it seems that that's kind of a lot of the angle that FFA is going is kind of trying to expand and open up the doors and saying, hey, there's all kinds of ways you can be a part of this. This isn't just row crops and that kind of stuff. There's different ways of being part of agriculture. Agriculture is the guy that takes care of the field at a baseball game.
Yeah.
Like that is the things you learn in agriculture can translate into lots of different things.
Yeah, I think so. And it starts in the classroom, getting the kids to see that. And then we want all of our students to have a supervised agriculture experience, their SAE project, and try out some different things and see what's out there and what that can lead to in the future. And, really now that's even starting with middle school. We have 40 different middle school programs in the state. And with most of the middle school, they see all of the students in that school. Whereas in high school, you're in the ag program. So it's kind of a certain percentage of your students that might be in that program. But with middle school, most of the time they see, 90, 95% of the students. So we want them to see that consumerism side. We want them to see, hey, here are the career opportunities. And I think back to my high school experience, it wasn't, people didn't consider things agriculture, like you mentioned, working at the Bat Stadium, they're like, oh, that's just that. But now we understand that we have all these other opportunities out here. And those things are just as important because that helps our industry. And I think even with National FA, they've done a great job with that. One of the things that they did for us at Seneca is they came out and they did, I think, 5 or 6 videos on our students and added it to the SAE library. So you can actually see, like, we had students working at the zoo, the bats, a dog groomer, Pets Palace. We had a student working there too. So, they came out and did the videos, and those were fantastic for us to be able to show our own students, hey, here's some things that you can do, that isn't just farming or isn't just having a garden in your backyard. And I think most teachers are trying to get students, because we can find their interest somewhere within ag. There's too many options out there that are open for them. So I think just getting them aware of what the options are.
So when you look at this is going to be a totally unfair question. Get ready. Managing a classroom in an ag program versus doing what you do now, and just you giving a quick overview of being a consultant, doing the trainings, taking a trip to North Carolina, managing things with the FFA state officers. Is it even comparable, the workload, or is it just totally vastly different? Can you even compare them?
I would say it's totally different. I don't know, because at school you're on such a schedule, and that's been one thing that I have to get used to because I'm a very scheduled person, and I still have a schedule now. But at school, you literally had to schedule when you go to the bathroom. So that's totally different. And for me, that was a challenge because at Seneca, my building was outside, so I had to go inside to go to the bathroom. So, I was very scheduled on everything. Even my husband, Daniel, he'll tell you that, like, I'm too scheduled probably. So that's been very different to get used to, like that, things are a little bit more flexible, I guess, if that makes sense. But it's also very different in that I'm not up in front of students, teaching them every day. And my day looks very different from day to day. Like just this week, for example, I went to the middle school conference on Monday, Northern Kentucky Regional Day on Tuesday, and then the last 2 days I've been playing catch up from being out for that and the trip last week. So it really varies on the week. Like none of my weeks are identical. Whereas if you're in the classroom, like for the most part, you're going to be teaching this class at this time, that kind of thing. So it is very different. And my busy time is different than being an ag teacher, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So from like March until September, October is very, very busy. And I mean, an ag teacher, you're always busy, but sometimes, usually in the summer, you are able to take a week off or, maybe two, depending on what you have going on. But in this role, my slower time is like November, December, January, which is kind of basically flip-flop, from the summer. So just getting used to that. And a lot of my experiences are different now. So going to state convention obviously is very different. I get there on Saturday and leave on Thursday. As an ag teacher, you'll get there on, Tuesday and leave on Thursday. Right. And when I'm there, I'm dead to the world. Like I have no clue what the weather's doing outside. I don't know anything.
Sounds like annual meeting for us. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, and the kids are like, the state officers will say, "Can we see what it is outside?" Nope, we're too busy. You can't go outside. So, that's very different than it is an ag teacher. And same way of national convention. It's very different because going up as an ag teacher, I would take students. We would go on tours, and our schedule was very different. And now at national convention, I'm there from Sunday night until Saturday. So it's just very different. So I don't know. I guess the workload is a little bit different. And it's a little bit more, my time is a little bit more flexible now. Because, as a teacher, if your child gets sick, you can't just leave school.
Right.
And now I do have that ability, if something happens, I can take care of it. So.
Yeah. That's probably one thing we haven't done yet. I keep saying we're going to get to the award. I swear we will. You guys have a family, and now the entire time you've gotten to raise them, but they have been side by side with these FFA kids. Now they have the state officers around and these teacher groups while you guys are teaching on the farm. Talk through raising a family the way you and Daniel are getting to raise a family, and talk about your kids.
I mean, it's a lot of fun. As an ag teacher, I took my kids to camp every year that I went. Sometimes that was maybe not the best decision.
Said every ag teacher ever.
Yeah, they'll just wear you out. But no, that was a blessing. Like, they love camp. I had to go to camp last Friday, and my kids were like, "Can we go?" I was like, "Y'all have school. And plus, I'm going there for a meeting. Like, this is not, FFA summer camp style."
Camp youth thing.
And it's really sad. It's to the point that Josie, like, she doesn't want to go to 4-H camp because she's already been spoiled by FFA camp. So, they had that opportunity to go do that. And Josie went to Ireland with us when we went. So that was really, for I guess she would have been 11-year-old. That's a pretty cool experience, to get to go do this. And they do get attached to the kids. when I was at Seneca, they probably had more interaction with them just because they went. Like if we did something on the weekend, they would go with us and that kind of thing. But it's been really good for them to see on the farm side of things, what it looks like when something's born, when something dies. They're very invested in it as far as helping on the farm and doing different things that they need to. And I appreciate being able to have that for them to do because, I know what it is like being around the kids at Seneca that maybe don't have that experience. So I think if they do want to come back and farm, they're truly at an advantage because they have that upbringing, that experience. Because there's just things that you learn growing up on a farm that we take for granted, and sometimes it's simple things on how something works or, how to operate a piece of equipment that maybe somebody, like Josie can jump in the skid steer and operate it. Now, I wouldn't let her do everything in it, but, she can pack a pallet around, while we load up pumpkins or something. But, a kid in an urban area, they may not. I had kids that didn't even get their license till they were after 18. They just didn't have the opportunity to have any kind of driving experience. So it is very rewarding for them to have that and be exposed to so many different things. And I know from teaching and my experience too that, if you have a child that is exposed to go on trips or do different things, their development and how they see the world, they're just ahead, of others who've had, maybe have not had the exposure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I would love to finally get to the award because, quite frankly, that's what made us pull you up on the list. We laugh and say we've got a list of all the interesting farmers across Kentucky. I don't know why we thought we could make a list. It's so long. And so just randomly we're like, oh, it's this month. We should grab this person. Well, you won an award. And so we were like, oh, we got to do our award winners. Like, why have we never done the Wrights? This is so great. So talk to us about being the Farm Woman of the Year and kind of what that meant and that whole process for you.
Well, first of all, I think it's an honor, especially I've always been involved in agriculture and knew that I wanted to do something involved in it as a child. And, when I worked at Seneca, that was so rewarding to be able to have the different animals that we're able to have on the farm and expose students, to those experiences with them. I would always bring kids out to the farm. And this year, Whitney brought kids out to the farm too. And everybody that comes out, they're like, how do you do all this? Like, how do you do everything? And I don't know if it was just the way I was raised, we're busy all the time on the farm. And when I got out of school growing up, I had chores, I had to feed the hogs right after, change your clothes and go outside and take care of that. But I look forward to it, when I'm done for the day and that's what I get to do. Unless the weather's just terrible outside, like I'm ready to go. Like that's kind of the highlight of my day is to get to go outside, and take care of animals. And there's just something that I love about doing it. And occasionally, we have several people that work for us too. They'll be like, do you want me to feed this house today? And I'm like, no, I'm going to do it. Like, I don't want people taking over my chores, Plus I just enjoy it. Like there's just something very rewarding about taking care, of animals and, whether it's lambing season or it's not, or, whatever it is, it's something that I look forward to every single day. It didn't feel like work, if that makes sense, because I do consider it to be fun, I guess would be the right word for it.
Yeah, so this award's a couple years old. I mean, it's
yeah,
a newish,
it's pretty new
Farm Bureau award. And one thing I've noticed, we get to highlight each one of these folks with the video. And I think the thing, it's intentional or not, these is the advocacy that happens. And I say unintentional because I think sometimes it's not like just your role, just what you're in, just your exposure to people that maybe aren't agriculture backgrounds. The past winters, the same way, how they kind of open their doors to, we had a farm market owner, we had a person that owns all kinds of different things, even like a wedding venue and all that kind of stuff. These folks that have won this award, they are maybe unintentional advocates. Their doors are open to know about what you're doing. You have people at the farm, you bring your animals to people, you've done all kinds of different things. So I think what's cool about the award is like it's we have an advocate award, but this is an advocate award. This is someone that that really speaks to the public about what's going on in agriculture. A lot of times, I feel like that's kind of becoming a trend within the award itself. Do you think that's really important? And in my experience, women in agriculture are sometimes the better advocates in a way. And do you find that? And I think that's it's. I don't know if it's a big part of the award itself, is that advocacy element of it, but it certainly seems to be in the last couple of folks that have won. So talk about that. How important is that to you to be an advocate? And you think that was a big part of you winning this award?
I think it's extremely important. As we have more people that are not from the farm, to get them to understand, what this looks like, or even people who want to purchase things from you, to help them understand. And, I try to teach that to the students at Seneca. We want to advocate for agriculture and get people to see this is why we have the practices that we have, so that they can see it from that side of things. Mm-hmm. And that way, if I can impact 30 students and then they go out and impact 30 other people, you're just kind of making a continuous wave of that advocacy. So I think that's important in Louisville. I think it's also important, in Henry County where I live too, because we have so many people that are moved. Last year, for the All In for Ag Week, and part of my role now, I get to work with that. But I went to Eleanor School, which is in Newcastle. It's about 2 miles from where we live. And we took a pig up there and we read a book to the kids. And besides Eleanor and one other boy who was their cousin, so that didn't really count, but they had not touched a pig. And I was like, this is 2 miles from our house. And we take animals to the Harvest Showcase and other events in Henry County. So that just blew my mind, because I knew it was a problem in Louisville, but I think it's a problem even in rural areas, that we need to be willing to go into classrooms, go into the community and advocate for agriculture and expose students to, whether it's animals, to crops, anything that we're doing on the farm. They need the exposure to it and understand the value of agriculture. Because I feel like we lose ground on that every day. Every time a subdivision is built, or, somebody moves into an area and starts complaining about the smell or whatever it may be, we need people to understand, hey, this is where your food comes from. This is the value of this, and to buy local. So I agree with that too, that I think that is, maybe an important part of the award and something that should be looked at. Because as producers, we need to be advocating for whatever we're doing, whether it's raising beef cattle, sheep, row crops, whatever it may be. We have to be advocates and get people to understand. And that can look a lot of different ways. Some people, use social media. Some people, might be going out and doing events in the community, or going to different schools and doing different things. But whatever it is, we definitely need more people doing it.
Mm-hmm.
What I like about your story is that it was obvious that you could do it just like Daniel could. And I think that's really neat for our generation of females that do farm. A past winner, Sarah Jones, says this a lot. It's a good thing that we have progressed enough to where we can have a farmer with a female name just as much as we can have a farmer with a male name. The fact that it was no big deal to your daughter that you're the one that brought in the pig and read the book, I think that's really, really impactful. And I think sometimes that natural, you are doing it because that's what you do, and it's a normal. Making the normalcy is just as much advocating as posting the reel on Instagram or putting it on Facebook. And I think, to your point, Matt, a lot of the last few winners are women that just farm. They don't have to be an influencer. They don't have to be anything huge. Their kids know that mom farms just like dad farms. And I think that's been that way for a long time, but it's becoming a normalcy. And I think that's really important. And I think you exude that and your family exudes that. And I think that's really cool to see that.
And people say, what's the need of the contest? To point out women. Sometimes you need to do that. And I think that's what it's kind of doing. It's kind of pointing at that. And it's like, here's this, that's why I said unintended advocate. Like you didn't necessarily do something to go advocate. You just were. You're a teacher. You had positions that gave you opportunity to advocate. advocate, but some of it, I mean, we had, a market owner. We've had just a variety of people win this award, and they're just doing the job, allowing people to see it, talking out loud, just being a regular person. I think sometimes is a great way to advocate about farmers, is just show that you're just trying to take your kid to, you got a softball game this weekend, or you got something going on like no one else, right? Like everyone else, And I think that's what I meant by that. It's like, it's kind of, you don't even intentionally do it. And sometimes that works as good as like you're trying to get out there and really, speak to people. It's just, they see that you're just a normal person running a business and doing a thing like anyone else. It's a unique thing, And I think that's what they're doing with this. And women have always done it. It's just kind of pointing at it now and saying, look, see, this lady, this is no different. This is no different. And that's been, all the women have won, get their hands dirty. They're right in the middle of it. I've been there. I've seen you standing in it. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think that's really neat. I've seen it as a videographer for my 20-something years in Farm Bureau, we've tried to put it out there. But I think just pointing right at it with this contest it's not a bad thing. And I think we've shown off some really great folks that do amazing work in agriculture, and you're one of those. And so I just wanted to say that because it's like, I think that sometimes there's that question, like, why do you have to point that out? And I'm like, well, because sometimes you just do. You got to aim. You got to point right at it and go, look at that. And it's I think it's helped a lot. It's made it very understood. Like she said, it's just a female could just be the owner of the farm. It's not it happens all the time. There it is.
Yeah.
and I think that's what's
I think
really
that's
cool.
even more important for students in an urban area, because I do have students that want to farm. And, a couple of them have finished college now and have jobs, but that's their goal, is they want to have a farm.
Yeah.
And I think that's hopefully, they can see everything that I did while I was at Seneca. And, it was me driving the trailer. It wasn't, Daniel and doing X, Y, Z. And they can say, I could do this, too.
Yeah.
So I think that's important for female students, especially in an urban area, because, you have the traditional picture of what a farmer is. And it's not always a female. It may, for somebody in a rural or in an urban area, may be somebody in overalls, like very traditional. But for them to understand, hey, I can do this too.
Yeah.
I think this award definitely highlights that, because they can look at, and that's where I love the videos too, because that's an example. They can see this person's doing all these different things. I could do something like this, on my farm.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to give you one last chance, because I'm not going to ask you to redo your entire acceptance speech. I was lucky enough, we kind of rotate my staff we're at the women's luncheon or the young farmer luncheon. So this was actually the first year since I've been here. I've been caught up with either an award or helping a sponsor on the young farmer side. So it just worked out that I got to be in the room and hear your acceptance speech, and it was phenomenal. It was so neat to hear you give a few shout outs to some people, see those people tear up, see people that didn't even know you personally tear up as you were doing that. So I'm not going to have you give the whole speech. That would be very unfair to you. But here's just one chance, because we don't post that. Is there anyone you want to kind of give a shout out to, a big thank you, or a mentor, anything that kind of got you to this point where you feel like, man, if that person wouldn't have been in my life, would I have been here at this age doing what I'm doing, I'd like to think yes, because I think you're a go-getter, but I think you kind of were able to give those thank yous. I want to give you a chance here if you want to.
Yeah, there's a ton of people. I think back to my earliest years. My grandmother, she was a very small, petite woman, barely 5 foot, maybe not even that. But my grandfather got very sick, and they farmed, and she had to kind of take over the operation. And I would hear stories, from my aunt, my uncle, whoever, talking about her working like a man. And at the time, I didn't really understand what that meant. So that was kind of always an inspiration to me. And then, I have to give credit to my dad, because he had a boy and a daughter, a son and a daughter. And he always let me do everything on the farm, like any piece of equipment. I did it all. The only thing he didn't let me do was cut tobacco. That was too dangerous. I don't know why, but it was. And I didn't really complain too much. But, that allowed me to have, I would say, more experiences especially growing up, than maybe other girls. You know, that people that I know that grew up on a farm, I definitely knew more just because my dad allowed me to do certain things. So that was huge. And then when I first started at Seneca, you know, I already mentioned my principal, but Tommy Clark was in my interview. And I think that's part of the reason I was able to get the job at Seneca, and they were able to keep it there because, like I said, they wanted to get rid of it. And she really believed in me and brought me on with Farm Bureau. And, you know, we were able to do a whole lot with the students and Jefferson County Farm Bureau as well through her leadership. So she's definitely fantastic. And then, of course, my husband, he, you know, supports my crazy ideas a lot of times. And then most of the time, I would say, you know, 99% of the time they turn out really good. You know, to the point that it starts out kind of as my side hustle. I'm like, I'm going to do this and make some extra money. And then it turns into, well, we're going to use this to make the farm payment now, you know, expand X, Y, Z. So, yeah,
he's got crazy ideas too. So I mean, this is a give and take.
Yeah, that is true. I probably decline some of his proposals though more than he does mine. But yeah, I mean, and that's it. It takes both of you. I think if you're married, you've got to. It's good to have that balance and good to see when you know you got to take a step back on something, or you know. If this is an idea that you've got to work through. So I've just been really blessed to have so many different people that have really kind of pushed me and helped me along the way to get to the point where I am. And, you know, I could list 100 different people that have done something for me. But, you know, all it takes is one person sometimes. I think that's really important. The impact, the ripple effect that one person can have on your life to get you to do all of these things and the impact you're going to have, you know. And most of the time for ag students, that starts with their ag teacher. You know, my ag teacher, Mr. Shaw, wouldn't have been an ag teacher. It wasn't for him. So that ripple effect that he made, then now I've made, and all the students that I have is very rewarding. And you don't have to be a teacher. You know, you look at like what Tommy did with Jefferson County Farm Bureau, taking somebody young on and saying, hey, come on, you know, we want you on the board. We want you, you know, to help with these different events or whatever. And then the impact you can make is even greater. So I think that's extremely important, no matter what role you have, is that mentorship that you can give to somebody, or just encouraging somebody to fill out an application or do X, Y, Z. You never know what the outcome of that's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can't thank you enough. I know that if the listeners can't tell, you have at least 100 things you could be doing right now. And so we did schedule you, and we can't say thank you enough. It's a busy time of year. I think we're finally feeling a little bit of warm weather with a little cold coming. Mm-hmm. So that's a good fun to prep time to go with the animals into cold after 80 degrees. But we appreciate what you do now. We appreciate what you did. And we look forward to continuing to hear from you and hearing the updates. I think that's my favorite part about teachers, is getting to do those updates later. And where are they now? Both the teacher and the kids.
Yeah,
and so we look forward to seeing you again for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Kristan. And thank you, listeners. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast and listen to some of those older episodes. And we'll see you next time on Let's Get Rural.